Shalom, my friends of Israel. I am Lizerbram, and I thank you again for joining us on today's emergency update call. We continue to live in a world of unknowns. However, there is one thing we do know, and that is we can always rely on each other. As president of Jewish National Fund USA, I have been overwhelmed with the pride to see people from every corner of our country message me, share words of prayer, and express their solidarity with Israel and the Jewish people. As we continue to work around the clock to address the immediate needs of residents in the South, please help our relief efforts today by going to our website, JNF.org. During today's briefing, we will hear from Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, International Spokesperson of the Israel Defense Forces, our colleague, Michal Uziyahu, who will provide an update from the Gaza Envelope after visiting destroyed communities to understand their ongoing and future needs. We will also hear from Talia Tzour, Jewish National Fund USA's Chief of Staff in Israel. And as always, please post your questions in the Zoom chat, and we will get to as many of them as possible. I would now like to call on Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus from the Israeli Defense Forces. Jonathan?
Thank you, sir. Shalom to everybody here. I would say it's a pleasure to be here, but these are not times of pleasure. We are at war, and the situation in Israel is grim. I would like to give you a brief and hopefully comprehensive update on the military situation. And unlike in media interviews and other engagements, I will spare you the rhetoric and messaging, and I will give you information only. I think that's probably what you expect and what you need. And I will focus on the situation on the ground so that you are informed about what's happening. I would also like to take the opportunity to refer you, for those of you who may not be aware, there is an abundance of verified, trustworthy information that is disseminated by the IDF on the IDF website in English, as well as on our Twitter feed and Facebook and other platforms that we have. For those of you who want information, we work overtime in order to provide information as much as possible in order to share with the world and share with the Jewish people everywhere where we stand, what's going on, which challenges we're facing, and what we're going to do with the challenges. So that's just a small remark. Situation. The fighting continues in southern Israel. The last few hours we had rockets fired towards Ashdod, towards Ashkelon, towards southern Israel. I would say that southern Israel, the Gaza envelope area, you could say that it's been relentless, almost relentless fire for more than 5.5 days towards those communities. It almost hasn't stopped, whereas other parts of Israel, the Tel Aviv area, Ashdod, etc., has had on and off periods. Yesterday, there was a 9-hour interlude between rocket fire towards major Israeli cities, but the general picture is that there is continuous rocket fire. Why do I start with rocket fire? Because it's kind of gotten a bit overshadowed by other horrific news, but there is still an active threat, constant threat towards Israeli communities in the south and in central Israel. Number-wise, we're talking about more than 5,000 rockets that have been fired at Israel. The Iron Dome, despite some stories I've seen in top-tier American media, the Iron Dome is performing excellently. Yes, there have been casualties in Israel by rockets, but no, the Iron Dome has not fallen below the 90+ successful interception rate, and it is saving many lives, and we are extremely thankful to have it. Regarding activity on the ground, terrorists are still sporadically trying to get into Israel, in southern Israel. We have done tremendous efforts to breach the gaps of the fence that was, sorry, not to breach, to mend the gaps of the fence that were breached on Saturday morning. All of those gaps have been breached, and we are actively defending those areas now. There are still efforts by Hamas using gliders, drones, smaller drones, gliders, and also via the sea from the northern part of the Gaza Strip towards Ashkelon and Zikim, for those of you who have a map in front of you, so along the coast. Those efforts are ongoing, and every once in a while there's reports of clashes between Israeli soldiers and Hamas terrorists. The difference between what happened on Saturday and the situation now is that now southern Israel is saturated with Israeli troops. There are troops everywhere ready to engage and responding very quickly to any reports of a presence of terrorists, and of course actively engaging, searching, and constantly looking for these terrorists. And that's why the reports that you're getting are usually of Israeli troops engaged with the terrorists in location such and such. Let's say Zikim, terrorist dead, wounded to our troops, and no civilian casualties. Hopefully, we'll be able to prevent them from exiting the Gaza Strip to begin with. In terms of reserves, we have mobilized more than 300,000. I'm sure that you are aware. They are getting combat ready, task force oriented. We're talking about infantry, armor, artillery, combat engineers, combat intelligence, and many other supporting troops that are there, getting ready in formations for the next stage of operations. I am not going to telegraph when, where, and what we're going to do, even on a line with friends, but the whole world is watching. And I will only say that our aim, the military aim that has been defined to us, is to completely dismantle Hamas and its military capabilities, the military capabilities of Hamas. That is the aim, and that is what the IDF will do, and we are preparing to execute those missions. In terms of casualties, sadly, grotesquely, I understand that the official number in Israel has risen to 1,300. The increments are by 100. Why is that? Because bodies are still being collected from various communities in southern Israel, Kfar Aza, Re'im, and many, many other communities where there were mass massacres. That's the only way it can be portrayed. In Be'eri alone, more than 100 bodies of Israeli civilians were already taken out, collected by Zaka in order to be processed, identified, and then brought to proper Jewish burial. It is an operation that the IDF is part of, but not leading at the national level, unprecedented in scope, extremely complex, and it is absolutely a national priority to see the victims of these crimes get buried properly as soon as possible, and it is ongoing. Militarily speaking, we've spoken about rockets, preparations for the next stage of activities. We have been striking the Gaza Strip almost relentlessly over the last few days from the air. Our aerial campaign is focused on Hamas, the seniors, the military facilities, its infrastructure, its weapons, and its ability to project, to send terrorists across the border. So we are striking their launching grounds, we are striking their support infrastructure. Whenever we can detect a terrorist, a senior commander, we prioritize hitting the senior commanders, and we are striking each and every military target that we have. Important to emphasize, the infrastructures may look civilian, but that is simply because Hamas never advertises which buildings they're using. We know what they use because we collect intelligence, and we have been doing it for many, many years. So all of the targets are supported and verified by strict and multi-source intelligence, not on a single source. They are verified according to the law of armed conflict. We have legal advisors, and everything is according to the same procedures that we always employ. Important to emphasize, there are people who've been asking about it, and I've been asked in the media many times. Yes, the IDF continues and is committed to the law of armed conflict. Despite the brutalities that we have suffered, despite the massacre of our civilians, And despite the horrors that are being exposed every day, the IDF remains committed to fighting along the moral principles and guidelines that we have defined for ourselves and according to international law. In the north, moving quickly to the north, a few brief words. Continued tension. Alarms were sounded in the Metula area and the Kiryat Shmona area a few hours ago, and we continue to be very vigilant, deployed in significant numbers along the northern border, which I would like to remind everybody is far longer, more complex, more mountainous, with many more Israelis in close proximity to the border, and in some cases with a territorial tactical disadvantage from our perspective. So a very complex area. We are deployed along those challenges with significant forces, special forces, air force, intelligence, artillery, armor, and many other units. And a lot of our focus is towards the north, towards Hezbollah, monitoring its movements and assessing what their next step will be. So far, we have had skirmishes, an anti-tank missile fired at Israel, but it seems, and I mark my words with caution, it seems as if Hezbollah has not yet decided to join in this war and may be heeding to warnings and may be understanding that it would not be in its interest to engage and to join into this battle because of the consequences that Hezbollah and Lebanon would suffer. On the Syrian front, we've had a few instances of rockets fired at Israel. Our retaliation, we are monitoring the situation, very much aware of the fact that there are Iranian proxies, several Iranian proxies in Syria, welcomed by the Syrian regime. And currently, no significant threats to infiltrate into Israel. We are also monitoring and enhancing our presence in Judea and Samaria, specifically focused on our communities and the roads that our civilians use. Those are the two priorities. We have bolstered the defenses, we have handed out more weapons, and we have strengthened the local, in Hebrew it's called Kitat Konenut, but it's basically armed civilians that are organized, the first responders of each community. They are enhanced with kit, weapons, ammunitions, and are very active and vigilant against any threat. Hamas has been making many efforts online to incite violence and to call on Palestinians in Judea and Samaria, Arabs in Israel, and anybody practically to join in the fighting and to try to massacre Jews just like Hamas did from the Gaza border. We will see where operations take us tonight, but the pressure on Hamas continues. We are striking them from the air and preparing ourselves for the next stages of the operation. Last word, the giant, enormous, unprecedented elephant in the room, our many dozens of Israelis that are kept hostage. Because of the sensitivity of the matter, I cannot go into further details as to the dilemmas, the location, the intelligence gathered, and many other aspects of it. I can only state the obvious. The IDF is, of course, addressing this as a top priority, and you probably heard the Chief of Staff today that who committed, Lieutenant General Halevi, said clearly that this will be the top priority to return all Israelis held by Hamas, the women, men, children, babies, elderly people, Holocaust survivors, and all of the people that they have taken and are holding inside Gaza. Worth to mention, many people from other nationalities, I think more than 25 different nationalities, have been affected by the atrocities, killed and missing. I won't go into the details of which country, but definitely many American casualties, British, French, and etc. And if you want information about that, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has information about it, and perhaps that is relevant to some of the communities. I'd like to end before taking a few questions by saying that I hope, and I will address one more thing before that. There are many outcries of despair, anger, frustration, shame, and even more difficult things than that are being voiced by Israeli civilians, mothers and fathers, people who have their loved ones missing or killed towards the IDF. We understand that. We understand the frustration, and we share and accept all of these feelings towards Israel. The chief of staff said today that clearly the IDF let the country down and we did not execute our mission as we should have, and we failed to defend the Gaza border. Clear, unequivocal. We will investigate. We will provide answers to Am Israel and the people in Israel, and we will take obvious responsibility for what happened. That will come when the last bullet is fired and when the last Hamas terrorist either is killed or surrendered. That is when that process will commence, and it will be very serious, deep, and relentless. And we will give answers, and we will make sure that lessons are identified and implemented so that this will never, ever happen again. Last thing, troop morale. Judging by each and every piece of information that I have, first-hand sources, as well as media and open source and social media, I can say that I am very happy to see the level of commitment, the amount of Israeli men and women pouring in from abroad, coming back home to Israel in order to join the IDF, join and report for duty. Many of them haven't even been summoned, and they're reporting for duty, eager with fierce determination to set the record straight with Hamas and to once and for all fundamentally improve the situation in the south. And yes, I'm not saying clearly statements like politicians, Hamas this and Hamas that. I speak in military terms. Our goal is to dismantle Hamas and its military capabilities. That is what's been defined, and I'm not going to go into other statements which would be less professional. That is where we stand. And before we take questions, just want to say how much I appreciate, the IDF appreciates your concern, your love, your prayers, your energy, your resources, and everything that is that you have done, are doing, and I'm sure will do for the defense of the state of Israel and the strengthening of the communities, their resilience, their fortifications, and their ability to, once this is over, rebuild and flourish and turn our homeland into what it was before in the Gaza area, a flourishing, beautiful place to live. Hopefully, never again with the threat of Hamas looming over their rooftops as it has been for the last more than 20 years. Let's take a few questions.
First, I want to thank on behalf of everybody at the Jewish National Fund USA. Thank you for your comprehensive report. It means a lot to us. We do have a few questions. I'll ask one because I saw it come in, and it's regarding the U.S. ships that have been deployed. How does that affect you, morally or otherwise?
Well, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate them. The immediate effect of such a quick and clear statement made by the U.S. Central Command, backed up by clear, unequivocal support in Congress and Senate, and spearheaded by multiple statements made by President Biden, Secretary Blinken, and Defense Secretary, are very, very important. They add to a sense of resolve and security. We are not expecting anybody, not the US and nobody else, to fight for us and defend Israel. We will defend Israel by ourselves, but we definitely need equipment, supplies, ammunition, Iron Dome interceptors, and many other things. And that is extremely important that the US is clear, committed, and already started the process of providing the replenishments that we need. Also, the positioning of a US battle group in the Eastern Mediterranean with the message to the region, Iran, Hezbollah, and the other vile terrorists that are festering along our borders, is very important. And I think that they are listening. Time will tell how much they heeded the warnings, and time will tell what effect it had. It's too early to say, but I can say from the get-go that it is definitely the right direction. And I wish that none of these American military assets will be needed. We want us to dismantle Hamas by ourselves, and it will be Israeli soldiers. It will be at the hands of Israeli soldiers that these vile terrorists will die, and it will be at the hands of Israeli soldiers, that all of the world will see what happens to a terrorist organization that perpetrates crimes against humanity on such a heinous level. But the support is important and the commitment is very important, and I definitely hope it continues. And if you have an ability to continue to influence legislators and elected officials, please do so. Your foot, the pedal should be on the metal, and it should be relentless pressure on legislators to make sure that they stand on the right side of history and that they stand behind and aside Israel.
Yeah, thank you for that important message. I know you have 3 minutes before you need to leave. So we'll take one more question. Yael, do you want to give us one of the questions, please?
Absolutely. Colonel, there's a lot of love on the chat for you and all the soldiers. So, thank you. But I will ask this one question that I saw. So with all the IAF attacks on Gaza, how come the terrorist rocket launch sites and factories have not been neutralized?
It's a complex situation, but the simplest answer I can give is because they are hidden underground, and many locations, in order for us to be able to take them out, there would be a very significant civilian toll, casualties. We are striking lots of facilities belonging to Hamas. Whenever rockets are launched from a location, we try to pinpoint the location and strike so that it won't be used again. But it is, imagine a game of, it's not a game, but imagine it as a giant whack-a-mole. We're looking at an area the size of 20 by 9 miles, 20 miles by 9 miles or 6 miles. And in each and every house, courtyard, school, mosque, orchard, or greenhouse, rockets are fired from. And it's a big area, very dense. We are doing our best to cover it, blanket it with intelligence, and then with quick ability to return fire. I would say that the rate of Hamas fire has gone down. It has diminished, but I'm not going to be complacent about that. But yes, we are suppressing their military capabilities. We are suppressing their command and control. We're suppressing their freedom of movement and their ability to move logistics, rockets, personnel, and to fire rockets. And I think the ultimate testament is that the numbers are going down. It is not at all the same number of rockets. And of course, this is a top priority, but it is extremely, extremely complex to do.
So thank you very much. We're right on time for you.
Thank you.
You allow us to call on you in the future.
Of course.
Because you really help so much for all of the people, probably over 1,200 people total, just to help us understand. So, Lieutenant Colonel, thank you so much.
Thank you, and unequivocally, Am Yisrael Chai. We will win this. We will win it. It will be hard and it will take time, but at the end, we will win. And I thank you for your support.
Thank you so much. And now we'll call on Michal.
Hi, Shalom.
Hi, Michal.
Hi, good evening, good morning. Thank you for inviting me again to share a little bit. It was a tough day. We have a lot of funerals every day. The cemeteries are full with the holes in the ground and beautiful people that are lying there. I do want to say that one of the biggest needs, and I want to ask you to call for an action. Yes, we will overcome. And I have to say that the hardest moment that I have day to day, except for funerals, is the moment that I'm sharing with you, because it gives me a moment of understanding what really actually happened and how we became history in the worst way that you can ask for. If I would have this Zoom call with you right now from the headquarters that I'm in, you would be so proud. You will see young people and elderly people doing the best in a proud way to to take care of our communities, to make sure that we keep in touch with one another, give support to one another, and make sure that once everything is over, we can come back and with you guys to rehabilitate our communities. Today I was in Kibbutz Nir Oz. Kibbutz Nir Oz is one of the communities that had the most casualties, and many, many children were kidnapped and murdered. Cruelty over there in Oz. I know that you see a lot of pictures and you see the cruelty in videos, in pictures that you see, but to smell cruelty, it's something that is very hard to experience. The houses are completely burned. It will take us time. Right now, this area is defined as a closed military area. The government of Israel took upon itself to take and accommodate all the communities that were only in the 4 kilometers along the border. But the closed military area is more than 7 kilometers, and we need to evacuate all the population. We cannot afford ourselves to have children and young families and even elderly people or adults that are not necessarily needed here. We cannot have anyone here. And as you heard before, Israel is planning to the next step of this, not a military, it's a war, for the next stage of this war. We lack funding. We need support to make sure that we can accommodate people outside of this area right now, to give them support to heal with each other, that young families will gather their energies together. We have lots of people over there that lost their loved ones, even children that lost friends from school, middle school, elementary school children. They lost teachers, beloved teachers, that lost good friends, parents, and people who don't know where their loved ones are right now. We just don't know. And these people, we want them to be there and we want them to stay there. But we're stressed about it. The cost today for only Eshkol is $1 million for each week to ensure that our population is safe over there. We really hope that soon we will be able to come back home. But till then, we need to know, and I'm telling you, I know that I can rely on you the day after. But if I'm talking about the Maslow hierarchy, we're talking about the first stage, unfortunately. We were dreaming together about the top of the hierarchy, and now I need you for the base of it. We need to ensure that no one is here, no one that is necessary and needed is here, and they are safe somewhere else. Accommodation. This is the basic thing that I need from you right now. Toda.
Michal, I can't even express all the chats that are coming in directed to you, filled with heart emojis and the love that we send to you, your community. We've known you for a long, long time, and we've never seen you or anyone in the community under this type of situation. We're there for you. We will continue to be, that you know that we'll continue to be there for you. And you know, we recognize, and next we're going to have Talia give us an update. If you have the ability to stay on, you might be able to hear from Talia what we're doing, and certainly we'll take your input to see if there's anything else we can do. So please hang in there. We'll continue to support you and your communities. And if you could stay on to listen to Talia, maybe she can give you some idea of what we're doing and what we plan to do. So thank you so much, Michal. And Talia, if you could take over.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Talia Tzour. I'm the Chief of Staff of Jewish National Fund here in Israel. So I spoke with Michal today, I don't know, 10 times, 15 times. We're on the ground. We're in touch with each and every affiliate, community, mayors, regions, those around Gaza and those in the Arava and Ramat HaNegev that are absorbing them. We know what is going on every hour. So, Michal, I apologize in front of everyone for nudging you so many times today, you know, and I love you. I love you. Guys, I'm going to try to recap what we've done here on the ground in Israel from day one, from Sunday morning. We've arranged for a short presentation. And this is, of course, only the first week. Before we start, you know, a week ago, on Wednesday, October 4th, we took 80 Americans as our guests to Eshkol region, to Chalutza, for a wonderful Sukkot day where we met with the farmers and the municipalities and the mayors, and we sat with Michal and we laughed with them. And the mantra was that this region, when we, you know, stood by Kisufim, one of the kibbutzim, this region is 99% heaven and 1% hell. And it was hard to believe how fast we're gonna face it, you know, that what a terrible hell this region can be. So on October 7th, as you all know, Saturday morning, the war started. 1,300 people were murdered. This is the largest number of Jews killed in a single day since the Holocaust. You all saw pictures and videos, you know, in the media, but it's not just rehabilitating these communities. It's not just painting them or planting the new seeds. It is totally destroyed, as Michal mentioned before. Just to remind those of you who are not familiar with the map, this is Gaza Strip. These are the communities around Gaza. This is Re'im. Do you see my arrow? Can you see my arrow? Yeah, okay. This is Re'im, where the nature party took place. Kfar Aza, where Ophir Lipstein was killed. Be'eri. And this is Naveh, one of the three communities of Chalutza. So we basically traveled around this area, and it was a gorgeous day. And what happened since then, you can all see here by the numbers, terrible numbers of the wounded people, the deaths, and the hostages. The IDF spokesperson, Jonathan, mentioned the fact, you know, that Israelis are more than willing to join and draft and serve the country. In fact, there's a line of people who want to draft to the army. There's more than 170% response to the call to come and serve our country. So Sunday morning, we decided to open a situation room here in Hod HaSharon to gather, to collect all the needs of Eshkol regions, Sderot, Sha'ar HaNegev, Bnei Shimon, and other, and execute, you know, whatever they need. We work closely with all of our affiliates, Makom, Green Horizon, Hashomer HaChadash, Lauder Employment Center, the municipalities in the Negev, in the Arava, everyone. So far, Elot region was able to absorb, and the numbers are growing every minute. 2,200, Ramat HaNegev 1,500, Central Arava 1,500, and Mass High School in Hod HaSharon, we have the capacity of 400. We've already absorbed more than 100 people who came here from Sderot. So these are some pictures, and as you can see on the left side, people are cooking and distributing food and clothes. The people lost everything. They didn't have the time to pack, right? They're running away. And on the right side, you see one of our colleagues in Central Arava entertaining the kids in a greenhouse in the Arava. This family that you see on the right arrived yesterday afternoon to Alexander Mass High School in Hod HaSharon. We welcomed them. We went to say hi, and they were looking at us as if we're angels saving their life. They looked at me and they said, you know, Tali, when we were loading the cars with the luggage from home in Sderot. While we went up to bring another suitcase, a missile hit the car and we could not even drive the car. We cannot believe that we are here. We cannot believe the loans, the atmosphere. We cannot believe that you allowed us to stay over here. And the second thing that they told me was, how long can we stay? How long can we stay? I said, you're here, you're safe. Don't think of how long. You're here on the ground, you're safe, you have everything that you need. And they were walking with me, you know, throughout the campus and looking around, and they said, we can't believe it. We just can't believe it. I said, don't worry, there are not so many sirens in Hod Sharon. I myself is a resident of Hod Sharon. So they said, we're not concerned about the sirens. So what are you concerned about? They said, we cannot believe that we can walk without being afraid that there's going to be another drone with terrorists landing in our terraces and balconies and neighborhoods. We were not allowed to go out of our shelters for 1 second because of the real threat, not only of the sirens and the missiles, the terrorists around us. We don't know where they will come from. So all of a sudden, it's as if you gave us freedom again. I have not managed to leave the campus. 24 meals of shawarma were sent only to this family, and tens of calls from residents from Hod Sharon who wanted to send them, and they ended up with pizzas and Chinese food and shawarma. And this morning, clowns and entertainers called to give them, you know, to come and entertain the kids, and tablets were sent to these kids. And I cannot, this is part of whatever is going throughout Israel. Everyone in Israel on the ground wants to feel that he can help these people, that he can help the war, that he can feed the soldiers, that he can supply whatever is needed. That's the atmosphere on the ground. So the immediate needs of the communities and the evacuees are, as we said, evacuation of the residents, short and long term. Yes, when you see the burnt houses, yes, it has to be long-term solution. They cannot move back and just paint it. They need equipment, and equipment, if I'm telling you, I got a call today from a lot region, they need doctor kits, they need the first aid kits, they need mattresses, they need things that you wouldn't believe because they're all absorbing and taking care of these evacuees. And of course, we're not in the stage yet, but the recovery and therapy for these people is part of their rehabilitation, and it will take, unfortunately, many, many months and I don't want to say years. So every minute, every hour, we get more and more requests, and that will add up for sure for tens of millions of dollars that we will have to really help these communities. I'm not going to go over the list, but as you can see, we're running lists and breakdowns of everything that we do, every request and every approved request, and the money was transferred, and we know exactly what's happening all over the country. Lauder Employment Center, which is usually used for, you know, high quality positions in the South, we have turned the place into a distribution center for the needs for the residents, the evacuees, the soldiers in the area. Trucks of mineral water have been delivered yesterday to IDF units. Volunteers gave hundreds of packages to wounded people and the soldiers that were packed by the Alexander Mas High School kids yesterday. These are some of the soldiers. This is the truck. These are the soldiers that we're going to watch in a second in a short video. And today we sent trucks with clothing, with socks and the underwear and undershirts and stuff like this to the people to be packed. And these are volunteers at the Lauder Employment Center in the Negev, in Beersheba, doing it.
We, the Combat Mobility Team, want to thank especially JNF America and Lauder Center in Beersheba for the donation. We much appreciate it. We're soon going into Gaza to kick those bastards' ass. Thank you for the depth of our heart.
So, as I said, the kids 2 days ago packed over 1,300 packages. The number that we're showing over here, the 80,000 has increased to more than 95,000. Steve Katnow, the director of the school, just sent me the updated number. Every hour, these kids from America, they're already back home. They had to leave yesterday with tears in their eyes. They didn't want to leave. They wanted to stay over here on the ground and to help. And meanwhile, they continue to raise money from their family, and almost $100,000 have been raised. These are the kids 2 days ago packing with music and so much, commitment. So how can we help? The mental and physical rehabilitation of the evacuees is going to be a very long, a very complicated and very expensive process. I know we're all here because we love and we care and we feel committed and we feel part of Am Israel. To allow us on the ground here in Israel to assist these people and these communities, we need your help, to support the campaign, to help us to assist the communities and the families to rebuild their lives now in wherever they are around Israel. And I hope very soon to go back to their communities, rebuild them, and resettle their life. To do that, just go to JNF.org, support Israel. Toda rabba lachem.
Talia, thank you so much. I know you're getting very little sleep, you and your colleagues there from the JNF, but what you're doing is it's absolutely remarkable. I just want to remind everybody that every dollar that is donated to this special campaign goes to service Israelis in need, mainly in the South, obviously, every single dollar. So with that, we will end. There's been many chats come on regarding our students from Alexander Muss. In a few minutes, they'll be landing in Boston. When they land in Boston, we have people that will be escorting each student to their connecting flight to their home city. So it was a heroic effort, as Talia knows very well, to make this all happen. But it did happen, and we thank everyone for participating today. Share the links with your friends and family so that they can see our updates, and we'll resume tomorrow. Thank you again, and Am Israel Chai.